I would like to call up to give some comments at this point in time a wonderful woman who has served our community on city council, former mayor, but also a very, very close friend of Marilyn Ryan. Ann Shaw, would you come forward at this point? And I'd appreciate some very nice remarks if we could.
Thank you. Doug told me he might do this to me. I'd like to talk to you about my friend Marilyn Ryan. Her many accomplishments are well known. Some of you are lucky enough to know her personally. Others know her by her deeds. Marilyn loved politics and the political process. Even before she moved to the peninsula in the mid-60s, she and her husband Jim had been involved in a recall campaign involving the Wiseburn School District. The recall was successful, and Jim became a school board member. Marilyn had been very active in the Los Angeles City League of Women Voters before she came to the peninsula. She was a strong advocate of good governance and widely read in the field. She continued her involvement with the League once she came to PV and soon was elected president. Marilyn's arrival on the peninsula was one of the factors of the perfect storm which eventually led to the incorporation of Rancho Palos Verdes. Let me set the scene. At that time, as part of the county, our city council was the County Board of Supervisors. Also, beginning in the 60s, residential development of the unincorporated area of the peninsula was growing rapidly. Development started with single-family homes, but soon grew into a desire by developers for multi-residential units as well. By the mid-60s, the trend of overbuilding the peninsula, at least in the minds of those of us who lived here, became evident. Many people appeared before the county boards to protest various developments, but to little or no avail. As an example, this area, where the Trump Golf Course was slated to be condominiums at a density of 40 units per acre. As a concession to the community, the density was reduced to 25 units per acre. Only one building was built, and that is the La Rotunda condominiums that are down that way. Visualize what this area would have looked like if it had been filled up with buildings of that size. Marilyn, as well as Dorothy LeConte, Fred Hess, and Gordon Curtis, became the core of Save Our Coastline. They were the center, but there were hundreds of other people, many from Rolling Hills Estates, and Palos Verdes Estates, that gave time, effort, and money to the incorporation effort. It was an all-absorbing battle for many of us, took more than 5 years, and a California Supreme Court decision that declared that the California incorporation laws were in violation of the one man, one vote principle. The law was changed and we were allowed to hold the election to become the city. I want to remind you that this was the 60s and the early 70s, and many thought that a woman's place was in the kitchen. The PV school board had a woman's seat at that time. One woman's okay, any more might be a problem. Marilyn won the most votes of the 24 candidates running for the first city council by a large margin, but she won the seat of mayor by a 3-2 vote, and not without some serious arm twisting. Marilyn's ideals and knowledge of good governance helped to guide Rancho Palos Verdes to become the strong city it is today. A new city has to feel its way as it goes along, and we were very lucky to have Marilyn as our first mayor. She had common sense and a great talent to cut through rhetoric. And you know how council members like to talk, and I will tell you it was no different in 1973. And she
Excuse
would...
me, I think,
My time is up, right? My 3 minutes are up, I know. Anyway, Marilyn had a great ability to get to the core of the issue that was confronting the council. Under Marilyn's leadership, the city's general plan, our blueprint for future development, was written and adopted. Also, our first council acquired the surplus military lands that included the Upper Point Vicente site and purchased surplus school sites for future parks. So Marilyn fought for our city, and she fought to become the first elected woman to the California Assembly since 1952. She served in the capacity for 3 terms and then was appointed as president of the California Arts Council. During this entire time, Marilyn was fighting another battle against rheumatoid arthritis. In 1973, we walked door to door during our campaign for the city council. Marilyn did it, but it was really physically hard for her. When she was in the assembly, she had operations on both hips, leaving one leg 2 inches shorter than the other. Marilyn's cousin Nick told me that Marilyn had told him that over the years she had had 40 operations. Through all of this, Marilyn showed an unbelievable determination not to let this ugly disease take over her life, and to a large extent she succeeded. Her spirit was indomitable, and she continued leading an active life until up to about 1.5 years ago. When she wanted to go to a museum and couldn't walk, we pushed her in a wheelchair, which isn't all bad because you get to go to the front of the line. About 6 years ago, she and her granddaughter Jenny, who is here, took a trip to Boston and Maine. During 9/11, she was on a trip to South Dakota with her brother Al and his wife, and had to drive the rental car all the way back to California because, of course, all air flights had been canceled. I have a million Marilyn stories. I hope I've given you a glimpse of a woman who was smart, well-grounded, and had true grit. Enjoy this lovely setting and realize that Marilyn Ryan played a very large part in securing it for all of us and for those who come after us.